Good morning. This is Pastor Tom Donnelly with Firmly Rooted Ministries, and I want to talk to you about life groups, and especially you firmly rooted folk in Indiana, as well as here in Oxford, Michigan. What is it that I'm trying to do? And so here it is. Simply put, I believe that Jesus and the disciples that he trained followed a pattern. Jesus and the disciples would talk in large groups to as many people as God would bring. They would talk in medium-sized groups. Let's say Jesus in someone's house or Jesus at a small synagogue. Let's say our men's groups or our women's groups or our rooted generation. But then Jesus also spoke and talked in what I would call life groups, intimate groups, like just the 12 disciples, or even smaller sometimes, Peter, James, and John, or just Peter. Firmly Rooted Ministries for years now has done a tremendous job in large group. I think we do great worship. I think we do large Bible studies well. I believe that we do worship nights well. I think it's evident how the Holy Spirit shows up. So we do those large groups well. And over the last few years, we've really developed our medium-sized groups. Rooted Generation recently coming together, 20 to 40, depending on how many show up. Our women's groups, our men's groups. So those are growing. But what I want to do now is develop the intimate groups where I believe the rubber hits the road. And so let me go back to Jesus. Jesus could preach concepts like I can preach concepts on a Sunday morning. And everyone kind of gets to understand the concept. I can do that even in a medium-sized group, men's group, women's groups. But where does the rubber hit the road where we learn to apply the concepts to our daily lives? Well, that happens when we have intimate relationships and accountability and discussions about how that happens. And so I want you to picture that Jesus is talking in large groups, Jesus is talking in medium-sized groups, but every night as he's with his disciples, they're sitting around a table in the evening or sitting around a fire, and this is where the education really happens. This is where they have a chance to say, okay, Jesus, we heard you say this, but what does that mean? We heard you say this, but how do we apply that to life? What does that truth mean in this situation? What does that truth mean in that situation? You see, you can't ask those very, very practical questions in a large group setting. Because in a large group setting, you're trying to provide as much information as possible in the time you have. But in a smaller group, now you can really get intimate. And now you can talk about how this thing works. And so as we are working on our whole discipleship process, I believe that Firmly Rooted needs to apply this last principle of intimate life group approach. We got to apply this approach to our discipleship process. And I believe once we do so, we're going to see tremendous growth. I'm not talking about growth in numbers. I'm talking about spiritual growth. We are going to become more confident in our faith. We're going to be living out our faith out there in community. We're going to be doing what God's called us to do. And so that at the end of the day, that's all, we can do. And so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to change up my teaching style. And so what I want to encourage everyone to know, and I guess this is my request, that you would dedicate large group teaching to Sunday. I want to encourage you, if you've never come to a Sunday Bible study at 9:00, I want you to come. If you want to dig in the scriptures with Pastor Tom, this is where you dig into the scriptures with Pastor Tom as well as in the message. So you're going to get a double whammy on Sunday as I teach from 9 to 9:45, maybe doctrines, maybe go through a book of the Bible and do what I think God really gifted me to do, make the Bible make sense to people. And so I really, really strongly encourage you to now consider making your Sundays beginning at 9 and then going till the end of service. And we're going to work at providing necessary childcare and the kinds of things that we need to do to make that happen. The first full week of every month, I'm going to be training life group leaders and talking to them about how life groups work, how they can facilitate conversations, and even providing them the topics. Then I'd like those life groups to meet the next 2 weeks, preferably twice, once each week, to build intimacy and to build closeness. I don't know that once a month is enough, but I'd like to see the life groups meet twice a month. And then lastly, the fourth full week of every month and any leftover days, we're going to live sent. It can be a life group sent. It could be you individually sent. But look at, God has called us to go into the world and make disciples, not just become them, but go and make them. And so every month, I want you to picture that Pastor Tom is trying to provide the ability that every month we're spiritually fed in large group settings. We've got our men's groups and our women's groups and our rooted generation groups and whatever groups that get developed. We got those still happening. But now we have these intimate groups, these life groups taking place where we can really dig in and have accountability and applying the truths that we've been learning to our daily lives. We'd like to start this in May, and May might be a rough month in getting it going. And so that is our targeted time. And so what we need is I'm looking for several more individuals willing to lead a life group. It's not a lifelong commitment. Let's say it's now till the end of the year. And then we can assess and see if people want to stay in or maybe new leaders develop. And then we also want to get people connected to life groups. And so what we're going to do the next couple Sundays is we're going to have life group leaders in the back of church in the lobby with clipboards and everything, trying to get everyone committed to a life group. It may not be their life group, but we want to get you on a list, and then we want to try to get them where you best fitted and best suited, and then we're going to start getting them going. Now, it's going to take 2 or 3 months to get this rolling out properly. I'm willing to make adjustments and obviously, and we're going to make mistakes. And so, and the other thing is, I don't want to make this a law. And what do I mean by that? I mean, someone's going to say, well, do we have to meet twice a month? What about our men's group, or what about our women's group? Do you only want us meeting once a month? Can we meet 2 times a month? Can we still meet 4 times? Listen, as long as you're involved in all 3 quadrants, large group, medium-sized groups, and these smaller groups, these life groups, then do the best you can. Do the best you can. You know, do I expect that 150 people are going to start coming to Bible study now every Sunday because I said so? No, but I hope more of you will, and I know that some of you won't because you don't have the time. I get it. Don't make it a law. Just do what you can to be in large group. If you've never been in a women's group or a men's group or been to the rooted generation group, try it, because you need that medium-sized group, that age appropriate group or that gender group to support you in your daily life. And then finally, I think true discipleship happens at these life groups. And we're already seeing tremendous change in people's lives. Just imagine how much we're going to see as we develop these life groups and get them going. So if you have any questions, feel free to call the office, talk to Lisa, talk to me, talk to Kimberly. We got it. We can explain to you what we're doing. Know that for the next several weeks, there'll be people trying to recruit you into life groups. And then please, if you're willing to have a life group, lead a life group in your home. It doesn't have to be in your home. It could be at a coffee shop. It could be here at the office. Then I'd like you to consider doing that as well. So with that, I encourage you to go back and look at the PowerPoint presentation that Doug did, or the video of Doug's PowerPoint presentation that Steve Giroux created, and take a look at that. Thank you. I know this has been 10 minutes. I thank you for hanging in and listening to me. Wishing you a blessed day and a firmly rooted day. And thank you for your commitment to your discipleship process. Peace.